Welcome to Muscles and Malarkey, a podcast about all things strength, fitness, and fun. I'm your host, Mary. I got some great feedback after my first episode, and I realized that it would be helpful to go through like a lingo lesson for the gym setting. After being in the fitness space for going on like 10 years now, I kind of forget what I didn't know when I started. So if you have any questions or want further explanation about anything I go over today, please reach out to me on Instagram at Muscles and Malarkey. You can also send me an email at musclesandmalarkey@gmail.com. First thing I want to clarify. In my last episode, I talked about a Smith machine when I was in high school and I was lifting as a thrower. I also used the term or the phrase of higher than a kite in regards to my squat, and I just wanted to explain that a little bit. So first off, I want to explain what a Smith machine is. It is a machine at the gym with a fixed barbell on a track. So typically this track keeps you in one spot as you are able to move the bar up and down. This machine can be used for squats, bench, hip thrusts, bent over rows, all sorts of exercises. And if you heard all that and thought, wait a second, I don't even know what those are, don't worry, I will get into these exercise names and what they mean in future episodes. Now, the Smith machine is different than using a free barbell or a freestanding barbell. The Smith machine has an extra element of safety because at any point you can re-rack the bar onto the hooks that are on the track. So if you were at the bottom of a squat and you couldn't get up, you could kind of turn your wrists so that the hook on the barbell on the track can hook into it's kind of like if you think about how gears work together. So that is not something that you can do with a free barbell. And there are many different types of barbell, and they can weigh differently, vastly differently. So if you're in the gym and you want to use a barbell, I highly recommend looking at the end cap. So the long, skinny end of the barbell, look on the end. It usually has like a brand or a logo, and a lot of times it will say like a 25 kilogram bar. That usually it's about 45 pounds. But there are some bars that weigh 55 pounds all the way up to 70 pounds. So if you're unsure, look at the end cap. If there's nothing on the end cap, ask a fellow gym goer or the people that work there. And if you don't know, try not to use that bar. That would be my recommendation. Sometimes you have to use a bar and you don't know what the weight is. But then sometimes you'll also get really mad at yourself. That's a whole different story. Anywho, we can also discuss safety measures taken with those types of exercises in a future episode as well. I have a lot to say about safety in regards to barbell movements. In the previous episode, I pointed out how the guys and the girls were separated. The boys got to use the free barbell and the ladies used the Smith machine. My reason for pointing that out was to show an example of how women used to be treated in the weight room. We were not taught how to squat with a freestanding barbell, while the guys learned those things, either in football or maybe in a different sport, and they got to build on those skills. It's not that it's bad to use the Smith machine. I think that there are a lot of great benefits you can get from a Smith machine. But if you want to learn how to use a freestanding barbell, you should be given that opportunity. We didn't have the opportunity to learn with a barbell. It was just automatically assumed like, oh, okay, well, the girls are going to go over and use the Smith machine. It's not like it was a conversation. I remember asking about that, and my coach was, super great, and I really liked him, but it just wasn't common to see women doing these barbell movements at that point in time. I mean, this is like the late 2000s, early 2010s. That is why it is wild to me to see girls now as young as 14 and 15 doing barbell movements like a squat, bench, and a deadlift, not in a Smith machine. Now, to go back to the phrase I used when I described my squat in the last episode, I squatted 235 pounds and it was higher than a kite. So one person asked me what that meant. And no, I am not referring to Snoop Dogg's favorite pastime with that sentence. What I was referencing was squat depth during a barbell squat. So ideally, you want to at least hit parallel when doing this movement. Parallel in a squat means that your hip crease, which is the crease that forms when you bend at your hip as you're descending into a squat, that hip crease needs to be at or below the level of the top part of your knee joint. So if you imagine being in the bottom of a squat and you draw a line at the, like a horizontal line at the top of your knee joint, and you draw a little horizontal line at your hip crease, those lines, if it's truly to parallel, will be in line with each other. Now, I train to a standard where I squat to below parallel. I'm not talking about ass to grass. I'm talking about absolutely no question of whether or not I hit depth with my squat in a competition. Not everybody has to train to a powerlifting standard, or if you're an Olympic weightlifter, you are squatting ass to grass. Not everybody has to do that. You are going to squat to a depth that I personally recommend squatting to a depth of at least parallel, because that is going to engage all of the musculature that you're trying to work. If you do quarter squats, you're not working your glutes and your hamstrings and your quads like how you want to. So I always recommend to people train at least to parallel. If you're in a sport specific where depth is judged, like in powerlifting, or certain depth is required, like with Olympic weightlifting, train to what you need to train to. At least parallel, and if you're a power lifter, below parallel. So I hope that clears that up. Lastly, I would like to explain the phrases hybrid program and conjugate. In order to explain the former, let me explain what a program is. In terms of training, you can organize your workouts a certain way in what is called a program. A program breaks down each workout you will do that week. For example, I currently have a 4-day-a-week program where one day is focused on squatting, one on benching, one on deadlifting, and a fourth day focusing on my bench weaknesses. So, when I said I was doing a hybrid program, what I meant was that I was following a weekly workout schedule that was written by Hybrid, which was a fitness brand popular at the time. Listen, it was 2017, okay? I'm not sure how many people are going to get that reference in the first place. If you do, let me know. Conjugate, on the other hand, is, according to westsidebarbell.com, a weekly strength and conditioning training system that decreases physical weakness. It switches through different exercises and physical effort levels to ensure you continuously get as strong and athletic as necessary for whatever objective you set. Its success relies on training hierarchy that constantly rotates stimulus and intensities to increase positive changes to both your physical health while reducing injury risk. If you've ever seen someone in the gym doing like a barbell movement with bands or chains, they're probably doing conjugate, okay? You don't need to worry about that if you're first starting off. If you do want to learn about that, I highly recommend looking it up, and if I can help explain in any way possible, I will do my best. I probably will end up talking about conjugate in the future. Now, and I want to clarify, that's a really brief explanation of what conjugate is, so don't take that as an end-all be-all, okay? Now, I thought it'd be really fun to end the episode by going over some common gym phrases you may come across as you begin and navigate through your gym journey. So, in no particular order, I will take Gym Lingo 101 for 1,000, Alex. If you see BB before an exercise, that means barbell. Also, sometimes BB does mean bodybuilding, but in this context, usually if it's in front of an exercise, it means barbell. So you might see BB bent over rows. That means you're using a barbell to complete that movement. You may see DB in front of an exercise. That means dumbbell. Dumbbells are typically used during accessory movements or single muscle group movements. Bicep curls, shoulder press, rows. You can do most exercises with an interchange what implement you use, whether it's a barbell, a dumbbell, or maybe a kettlebell, which you will see KB in front of an exercise. Like KB swings are kettlebell swings. A kettlebell is a cannonball shaped weight at the base with a handle it's all one piece, okay? Now, and that's they have a handle, it's at the top. I'm not the best at describing visual things, so I would recommend Googling kettlebell if you're really unsure which one I'm talking about. But if you've ever heard of the phrase kettlebell swings, or if you've seen that on a workout, platform somewhere else, that's what they're using is a kettlebell. Another acronym is HIIT, HIIT, or High Intensity Interval Training. It incorporates several rounds that alternate between several minutes of high intensity movement to significantly increase your heart rate, followed by short periods of lower intensity movements to bring your heart rate back down. So it's kind of like you have a big burst of energy, you put in maximum effort to do your 10 push-ups, and then you rest for like 20 seconds. Now, you may have seen somebody caption an Instagram post or a status with PR or PB. So a PR stands for a personal record, and a PB is a personal best. They are the same thing. I mean, I think just depending on where you're at in the world, you use PR versus PB. You might see, someone caption their post with, single PR or PR double or PR triple at a certain weight, or, did a PR triple at this weight. So if you see single, dub, or trip, a single is a single repetition, a dub is a double or 2 repetitions, and a trip is a triple or 3 repetitions. You've heard me say the phrase sets and reps. So let me explain those. Sets are a group of repetitions. Reps, or repetitions, is when you complete a movement for a certain number of times. For example, doing 3 sets of 5 push-ups means that I did 5 push-ups, rested, aka let myself kind of recover a little bit, did 5 push-ups again, rested, and finished my sets with the last 5 push-ups. So I did 3 sets of 5. Commonly, you will see this written out as 3 with a little multiplication sign or a little X times 5, okay? That is like a 3 by 5. That is not 3 times 5, even though you can do that math, but I did not go to school for math. At the end of the day, you're doing 15 repetitions, but you're doing 3 sets of 5. So it's 3 by 5. Drop sets. This is doing an exercise with a certain weight for a certain number of reps and then dropping the weight and doing more repetitions at that lighter weight. And so you're trying to accumulate a lot of repetitions with that certain exercise. And as your muscles get tired, you lower the weight so that you can get more repetitions and your body can handle it a little bit better. A big acronym that I'm sure a lot of people have seen but don't quite know what it is RPE, which is rate of perceived exertion. This is a scale to determine the effort you extended during a certain set of an exercise. On a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being maximal effort. So if you see someone say RPE 10, that's them saying that they put in their full ability to do that lift. Now, if you see RPE, 6, then that means it's pretty much a walk in the park for them. You will typically see RPE labels if someone is describing like their top set of a compound lift. If you follow some high level lifters on Instagram, for example, or TikTok, you might see top single at RPE 8.5. And that's essentially them trying to say how easy or how hard they felt like that lift was. And you might be saying, what the heck is a top set and what the heck is a compound lift? And I'm so happy you asked that, because a compound lift is a barbell movement like a squat, bench, or a deadlift that uses multiple muscle groups. Now, a top set is the heaviest or maybe the most intense, that's going to be like your RPE 9s or 10s of your compound lift. In a workout, for example, for me, the way it's set up is that I am going to hit a top set at a certain weight. So for squats, maybe I'm working up to a top dub at an RPE 8. So my coach is setting an expectation that she doesn't want me to, go all out and put in my maximal effort. But I have to warm up to that top weight, because maybe that double projected for me is 285 pounds. Well, I'm not just going to walk into the gym, slap on 285 pounds and start lifting it. I'm going to do some warm-up sets, okay? Warm-up sets are to prepare you for that top set of your heaviest, most intense compound lift. Then you have working sets. So you achieve that top set, and then you're going to drop your weight down to a more manageable, tolerable weight and do multiple repetitions for multiple sets. So I might work up to a top double and then drop down to do my working sets or my back down sets for 3 sets of 4 at 265 pounds in that context. So once you're done with doing your compound lift for your top set and working sets, you're going to have other parts to the workout. That means accessories. Accessories, the thing that powerlifters totally never skip, right? I'm sure strongmen don't skip that either. CrossFitters are too dedicated. I cannot believe that they skip their accessories. Their accessories are like their WODs, which WODs are workout of the day, but that's CrossFit, so we don't care about that. Joking, totally kidding. So accessories. These are movements or exercises that you typically do after you're done with your compound movements. These are more isolation style movements, like you're focusing on maybe one muscle or muscle group, which, to explain muscle groups, that's going to be like your upper body versus your lower body versus your trunk, which those can then also be divided down into, like for upper body, your biceps and triceps, your shoulders, your chest. One complete separation is your back. Then you have your abs. And then for the lower body, you might have glutes and hams versus quads versus calves. So we will get into programming and styling a program utilizing those phrases like chest day, back day, leg day, okay? But overall, that is what I have for you guys today. If there are any phrases or words that totally tripped you up when you first started lifting, please send me a message. Let me know. I am more than happy to try and explain them, although I'm not always the best with words. I hope you enjoyed the second episode of Muscles and Malarkey. And if you have any fitness-related questions that you want help with, send me a DM on Instagram at musclesandmalarkey or send me an email at musclesandmalarkey@gmail.com. Please leave a review. I'd love to hear your feedback. Yeehaw and yee claw, everybody.